Nah. Yo, what's goody? It's Bear in the building. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Kueen Talk. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this episode on today. Today, y'all, guess what? We just hit 50. 50. We just hit 50. I'm that nigga and that. This is our 50th episode of Kueen Talk. 50th. The podcast where you can hear amazing stories and experiences from queer people of color, y'all. This is exciting. This is very exciting. This is a great accomplishment. I will say that, 50, we've had amazing stories on here. I just want to thank every single person that has come onto this platform and been vulnerable and shared your stories and experiences, because no one can tell you that your lived experiences was not true. And I just appreciate you for being vulnerable, knowing that this is out there for everyone to see or hear, and seeing the importance of you sharing your stories with others. So just thank you so much. Thank you to the listeners that tune in weekly for this podcast. Just thank you so much. I can't say that enough. Just all the support and everybody caring about these stories as much as I do, and getting them out there it's been awesome. And 50, like I said, is a great achievement, and it's also a milestone in the podcast world. I'm in a few podcast groups on feeds or whatnot, and just they ask a lot of times is, have you made it to 50? That's always a big question when people are trying to see how serious have you been with this podcast. And I have made it to 50, and it's exciting. We're growing. We've done a lot of amazing things, and there's just so much more that I want to do. When I started Kueen Talk, I did not know the climate we would be in today when I started this journey. When I started this podcast, I started because I needed to find my community. I knew that personally for me, I needed more representation in my life. If you've been watching or listening to Kueen Talk, you know representation matters, and that you can't tell me otherwise. It's definitely needed. And so, yeah, I was the only person that looked like me quite often in different rooms that I would be in growing up, whether that being the only woman, the only black person, or the darkest, or just being the only queer. And let me tell you, it is exhausting being the only one in the room. It is very exhausting. Constantly having to hold back one or more of my identities in almost every space I would enter. So being a woman, if I'm in a lot of men's spaces, just being a masculine presenting woman, I just grew up being in a lot of men's spaces, and then I played a lot of sports. So being in the femme, just the femme groups, and just outside of that, just I didn't really fit in outside of that, outside of on the court or on the field or whatever. And so just being black and in spaces, and being in black spaces, just being queer, sometimes in those spaces you just don't feel comfortable being queer in those spaces. And then just in queer spaces itself, it's you don't see a lot of people of color in those spaces. So, and it was just man, everywhere I'm entering in these spaces, constantly not seeing that identity or that representation of myself. So, I mean, I'm 33 now, and I was it's not going to get any better with me just not searching it for myself. So I got to do something. So, I got my master's in 2019, graduated, but during school, during my internship, I made it a priority. When I got my internship and they're asking me what do I want, I specifically said I wanted to work with the LGBTQ population. So that's when I got connected. And 2017 is when I started that program with I think I started in 2017, but I started that specific internship in 2018 with Glisson, Kansas at the time. And during that time, my mentor, Liz Hamer, who made it a mission to amplify queer people of color voices, still does it to this day. Like, and it was great because I was asked to share my story, and I had never done that before. Like, I've never shared my story, and when I told my story, it was just it just felt so great to be able to do that. And I cried, and my mom was in the audience. She did live. I didn't even know she went live, but she put it on Facebook, and just like all the feedback that I was getting, it was just like a lot of stuff that I hadn't even said out loud, and or people in different groups that I grew up with, they didn't even really know just like how it felt to be me in these different spaces growing up. So it was just like good to just release that. And I was like, okay, we have to keep this going. Like, I had never seen that. I didn't see it often, like those stories being told, and I don't see enough of it either. So then I sat on like the idea of Kueen Talk for a while. Like, I knew I wanted to do something with the queer population or demographic, but I just didn't know what. And then podcast became a wave, and so I was like, okay, well, let me start a podcast. Like, I can start a podcast and get these stories out there, and people will be able to hear them, and people will be able to relate and see that representation of themselves. I was like, okay, let's do it. And then that's it. Like, the rest, I was just like, okay, like this needs to be done. And I just want to thank Amanda Rose. No, not my best friend Amanda Rose, but Amanda Rose, her sister-in-law, for helping me. Also, I literally asked her just how she started her podcast, what platform she used, just like any game, what the mic and all this stuff, and she just like really helped me out without even like being like, okay, is she really gonna do it or not? And so just like I'm finally at 50, so I just it's dope. So I've never really like shouted her out before of just like who gave me the game of what to do and the platforms that use. But yeah, Amanda Rose, who she has her own podcast. It's called Live Laugh Larceny Podcast, and it is for parodying like true crime. And so I just want to shout her out and shout her podcast out for like the help that she gave me. So thank you, Amanda Rose, for doing that. Um, but yeah, so according to the podcasthost.com, there's over 4 million podcasts registered today. 4 million. That's, yes, 4 million podcasts registered today. And so out of that 4 million, 400,000 are actively posting within the last 90 days. You can't go past 90 days, the research on that to see. I might even try to like look up on Apple Podcasts myself, but 400,000 of that 4 million have posted a podcast in the last 90 days. So 91 days ago, could be more. But just in that perspective, it's just like a lot of people start this journey and it doesn't reach this 50 milestone. So I just like kudos. I'm going to give myself some kudos because this does take a lot of work, a lot of time to be able to find people backing out last minute. You cancel plans, you have your calendar set up, you're going to do it, or it's like a no call, no show. They don't show up. Like, there's just a lot of different things that also come with it. But then like you get all the great stuff when people actually do fall through. They're coming through, sharing their stories. And I just appreciate those people that have really came and, like I said, and believed in this platform and just showed up for other people too. Like, other people watching this, growing up or at whatever age, and just like finding this podcast and be like, oh my gosh, like I identify like that. Okay, like, okay, that makes sense. I feel that way too. Or just like different similarities that just like help you through your journey. I think not everyone's story has been the same, and it's just been so cool that we're continuing to do this. And out of the 400,000, you guys choose this one podcast like on your list of podcasts to listen to or watch, and just thank you. Like, it's so dope. it's nice. It's a great feeling. Like I said, it's a great accomplishment, and I'm excited for what Kueen Talk is doing. Just in the year that we've had, met so many amazing people. Everyone's story was unique, like I said, and different. And personally, I am learning so much about myself while on this journey. Like, there's just so much that I have grown and like within my relationship and just personally that have made me a better queer, to be honest. Like, that's the better way to put it. Or just like, not a better queer, just like my own version of myself, my queerness, I guess. Um, what that means to me and like my identity and everything. Like, it doesn't have to fit one way or this one box that it's been. So, yeah, just thank you for choosing to listen to this podcast. Um, I was intentional with this podcast, and I wanted to bring voices to the forefront that you do not often hear. Queer people of color deserve to have their stories heard, and I am glad to be one of the few that are creating that space to do so. I wrestled with myself on creating this space for just queer people of color stories instead of just like queer stories in general. And I'm often reminded when I enter spaces my why. And it's not a bad thing. Like, this is for everybody. It is for everybody. Just wanted to create that safe space. And in the climate that we're in now, and who knows what it's going to be like, I just, people know, like, I am only one person, but you can slide into my DMs. I'm here to talk, or just if you want to come on and share your story, just like, please hit me up. I'm always looking for more guests to come on here. This is a vulnerable thing to do, to share your story with the world, knowing it's on there forever. So, yeah, just starting this, just seeking individuals that understand what it means to be a minority within a minority. It can be challenging. So, I just want people to know, like, this is a space, and I want people to know I thank you very much for doing it and listening. And yeah, if you haven't checked out all the episodes, you have 49 episodes to go back and listen to. 49 episodes. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time if you're cleaning, got a road trip, just need something to listen to. Please check out Kueen Talk. You won't be disappointed at any of the stories you check out. Not one is the same, and everyone has different perspective. This community, from my experience doing this, we're all learning and growing together, and that is okay. There is not one stereotype that fits all, and that is shown on this platform. I think what we can all relate to is that our identity is forever evolving, and just like, that's okay. And as we grow into ourselves, we accept freedoms that we didn't know that we could have, and that we're still fighting for today. So, after 50 episodes, I just have learned so much more about myself, being more open to who I am, and I hope during your journey of watching Kueen Talk that has helped you as well. Not have to fit inside the box that people like to put you in. So, yeah, just keep tuning in every week. We got some exciting guests coming up. And yeah, every Thursday we got an episode. And if you want to be a guest, like I said, just make sure to hit me up. I'll have it in the description below. If you ever have questions for the guests, please put them in the description as well. And I will be the one to ask those questions for you. But yeah, thank you guys. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe button. And let me know what episode you started watching Kueen Talk on. And just let me know, like, what do you like? What do you want more of? There's so many things that I've want to do and I'm going to do, and I've been texting people. If you've been on the podcast, I've been hitting you up, like, you will be back if you're willing. And yeah, so let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see on Kueen Talk next. Yeah, it's a we're not gonna fit in this one box. So yeah, as always, family, friends, strangers, love. Be nice.